Okay, so thanks for your patience. Technology makes life easy, except at St. Nicholas in Wyckoff, right? So we are pleased to have Despina Cartson with us one more time. She was here several years ago, as you know. Thank you, 2019, so about 5 years ago. And she inspired us to do the work of the Lord according to St. Matthew's Gospel, which I talked about earlier during Pre-Sanctified. She has been feeding the homeless in Manhattan for several years, and she started a company called, not-for-profit, Philoxenia, right? She's a member of Holy Trinity in New Rochelle, New York, and of course they go into the city near St. Francis of Assisi, and we have joined up, as you know, for several years. She's also a chief marketing officer for a large law firm in New York City as well. She is married. Her daughter, Alexandra, still works for the cathedral?
Yes,
yeah, Cathedral of Holy Trinity in New York as well. So please welcome her one more time to St. Nicholas.
So thank you, Father Bill. Thank you, Peggy and Paul and Tammy and everybody who is a part of this. Oh, after all that, it's not working? Okay, higher. Can you hear me now? Maybe should I? Can you hear me? No? Okay, I'll just hold it. I guess, can you hear me now? Okay, I'm doing a commercial for Verizon. Anyhow, thank you everyone for inviting me, Father Bill, Peggy, Paul, Tammy, and the crew that goes out once a month. Thank you for letting me share with you our story of serving the homeless on our soup run. It's the Homeless Outreach Ministry from Holy Trinity, New Rochelle, as Father Bill mentioned, and it's been, 2 years now that you've been coming with us? A year? Oh, okay, even at St. Francis, right. Okay, great. With masks, right. That's great. So it's a great collaboration. So during this Lenten season, as Father said during the service, I think it's just really imperative that serving the homeless is something that we do, and it really takes on an even greater meaning as we think about what we're called to do. It's particularly beautiful to reflect on certainly Matthew 25, for I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. So you'll recognize a lot of people because I tried to include as many pictures as possible of your wonderful group. So our amazing group of selfless volunteers goes out every month, once a month, no matter what the weather is like. Above all, we refer to those that we serve as our guests. They are guests on the street. We don't judge, we don't question, we just serve. So the stories of our guests, we meet a lot of people, and we've met a lot of people over the years, and each person really has their own story to tell. So many of them are just like us. They started off with the same opportunities as we have. Their stories are often overlooked or ignored, but we strive to give them a voice and to listen to them. And one of the things that's so beautiful about the soup run is that we talk to the individuals that we're serving, and we get to know them and get to know their names. And we were talking during dinner, and we're not sure if we like it or don't like it when we don't see one the next month because we worry about them. So I will share with you stories about feeding our guests on the street in Manhattan. I also published a book called Last Night's Soup Run because we call this the soup run, and so I published a book about it. The stories in the book are about people who have been served by us over the last 17 years that we've been doing this. And unfortunately, we don't always hear their stories because we live in comfortable homes, but it's really nice to have the opportunity to speak with them, interact with them, and treat them with compassion when we're serving them on the street. This is an amazing statue. It's a bronze statue called Homeless Jesus, and it's very, the first time I saw this, I actually thought it was a person, and then I realized it was a statue, but it's amazing to see homeless individuals sitting right next to this statue of Jesus. Being homeless is not just about lacking a home. It's because there are a lot of complex issues that require a multifaceted solution to take care of people and to get them off the street. We feed guests on the sidewalk in Midtown who are so hungry that they start eating the food before we even finish serving people. I remember serving someone, we actually were serving soup this one day instead of the hot meals that we typically serve. And a man took one container of soup and opened it and ate it right in front of us and asked for another and asked for another. And he had 4 containers of soup. He was so hungry. So it's a pretty amazing experience. A man showed us once that he had no shoes and socks on his feet, and so one of our volunteers, this was in the wintertime, took off his boots and gave them to him so that he could have something to put on his feet. Our guests try to stay warm and settle into makeshift places that they create out of boxes, out of tents, different sorts of housing structures for them that they wedge into church doors. They sleep in sleeping bags sometimes. Sometimes we leave food next to people who are laying on the sidewalk and can't get up. And then we look back as we walk away and we see that they've sort of inched out a little bit and have started to take the meal, which is very rewarding. During the past 2 years, we've seen an increase, a pretty substantial increase in the number of individuals that we're serving with the influx of the migrants. We're serving asylum seekers who are mostly from Venezuela, Ecuador, and Nigeria. Many of them, as you can see from these pictures, have families, babies, children. In the winter months, when we see mothers holding their babies in just a little thin cotton pajama and just saying, "Do you have anything warm for our kids?" It's pretty heart-wrenching to see. They literally have arrived here with the clothes on their back, and they ask for coats, for shoes, for anything. They are very grateful to us. They express their gratitude. Sometimes the little kids, not the babies, but the younger kids are the only ones who speak English, and in their limited English, they very happily smile at us and say thank you, and I think they're appreciative and they're very proud of the fact that they can say thank you. We've given them children's toys, stuffed animals, and diapers. Your parish in particular has been amazing in collecting stuffed animals and toys for the children. As they will attest, the kids will take the toys out and start playing with them right on the sidewalk. They love getting the stuffed animals. So one night, this is an interesting story of the compassion that the individuals who are street homeless show to one another. One night we met a gentleman by the name of Prince. Well, we met 2 guys, Prince and Chapo. And we had already served Chapo, who was staying at a nearby drop-in center. So there are drop-in centers where homeless individuals can go and stay, and the one that's near us, the Oliveri Center, literally has metal folding chairs. And if you're homeless, you can stay overnight and sleep on a metal folding chair. That's all they have. No other facilities, no food. So anyhow, we had already served Chapo food. He was staying at the drop-in center. And a couple of hours later, a man by the name of Prince came up to us and said he was looking for someone, and he described him. And amazingly, we said, well, that must be Chapo. We just got done serving him. So we asked for Chapo to come back out of the drop-in center, and they connected. And it turned out that the gentleman, Prince, had just gotten a job, and he was able to get an apartment, so he wanted to get his buddy from the shelter, Chapo, to share the apartment with him. So amazing compassion that they share for one another. So on the soup run, we serve about 150 meals and about 100 sandwiches, along with snacks, coffee, hot chocolate, water, every month. We always go, unless it's a holiday, we go on the last Thursday of the month. We've been doing this for 17 years, the last Thursday of the month, and people know to expect us then. Why do we go on the last Thursday of the month? It's important for us to go at the end of the month because for those individuals who are receiving some sort of government subsidy, their money is running out. They don't get much to begin with, but their money is definitely running out by the end of the month. In addition to a hot meal and toiletry items, our guests are offered clothing, seasonal items like fleece blankets, hand warmers, or rain ponchos. Pretty much, as we were also talking about at dinner, whatever you could think of donating, there will be a need, and they will use them. Some of our guests who've known us for so many years call us the Thursday night Greek people. They swear that we have the best food out on the street. They sometimes criticize the other organizations who serve and say that our food is the best, so we certainly like hearing that. How do we do the soup run? We carpool into the city, several cars packed with food, toiletries, whatever we're distributing. We set up tables, and we serve on the corner of 35th Street and Broadway, right next to Macy's, right on the same wall as Macy's. We do not have a license or a permit. We just go and we serve. And we've been doing this, again, for 17 years, and it's pretty amazing. People think that we've had to jump through a lot of hoops to get permission from the city, and we never have, and we've never been chased away. In fact, we've had police come up to us and say, what you're doing is really great, thank you for being out here. And there's also a homeless outreach division of the NYPD. About 2 months ago, they stopped, and we were getting ready to pack up. I don't know if you remember this, and they said, well, don't leave yet, can you wait? We're gonna go into the subway and see if there's anyone who's hungry. So the 3 police officers went into the subway. They managed to find several men, and they brought them to us so that we could feed them. Sometimes during the soup run, we have amazing experiences from the people who are just passing by. We've had people walking down the street, seeing what we're doing, giving us $10, $20 as a donation, which is amazing. One time, a homeless individual who we had just served insisted on paying us, and he reached into his pocket and he just put a handful of change on the table, and he said, this is all I have. And we convinced him that we didn't need his money and he didn't have to pay for it, but amazingly, he wanted to be able to contribute something. So what is the need? The need is ever present. It doesn't seem to have subsided in any way. Some statistics, there were 653,000 people who were experiencing homelessness in 2023, according to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. This figure represents a record high since they started counting homelessness in 2007. 46% of adults aged 55 and over who are experiencing homelessness live unsheltered. So you can be street homeless or unsheltered, or you can be homeless and maybe be couch surfing or something like that. So 46% of adults aged 55 and over who are homeless and unsheltered. This is 21% of the overall homeless population. New York City has the most homeless individuals of any city. In November of 2023, there were almost 93,000 homeless people, including 34,000 homeless children sleeping each night in the city's shelter system. More than 4,000 individuals are unsheltered on the streets of New York every night. They sleep on streets or in subways and try to find someplace to stay warm. Hopefully you're recognizing some of your wonderful parishioners here, front and center. And Father Nick, yes. So that's our priest, Father Nick Angel, with the hat. So this was during the pandemic when we were still masked up. This woman's name is Cynthia. Yeah, she's, actually, I haven't seen her. I know. See, she's one of the ones that we worry about. She's wheelchair bound. She's out there all the time. Her legs are in bad shape. They're swollen. They have sores on them. It's horrendous. But she hasn't even been. She wasn't even at St. Francis. I know. So in 2023, more than 10,000 individuals were experiencing homelessness in the state of New Jersey, representing a 17% increase from 2022. So what causes homelessness? The leading cause of homelessness is lack of affordable housing. Families make up 3/4 of the homeless shelter population. So families, mothers and children primarily. Triggering causes. So lack of affordable housing is the #1 cause. Triggering causes include eviction, severely overcrowded housing, domestic violence, job loss, and hazardous housing conditions. This is a picture of a gentleman that we just served, and we were giving him these brand new sneakers, and this is in our new spot because that's the subway station that's by 35th Street, and he sat right down and put on the new sneakers. This gentleman is on 31st Street in front of St. Francis, and he's like the mayor. He likes to clean up. So even though we try to clean up ourselves, he always says, leave the garbage for me. I will take care of that. I keep the block clean because this is where he lives. In addition to lack of affordable housing, many experiencing homelessness have high rates of mental health challenges and substance abuse disorders. They may also be dealing with trauma. Children experiencing homelessness are at risk for emotional and behavioral problems, as you can imagine. So clearly there's a need to find solutions to the homeless problem. In the meantime, we do what we can, a little bit every month, to just provide a little bit of sustenance for those who are hungry. We do it with compassion. We serve them without judgment. We don't ask why they're homeless. We don't care what faith they are, what race they are, or what their circumstances are. They just need to eat. So after 10 years of doing the soup run, and the morning after the soup run, I send an email to the volunteers and supporters, and in the subject field of the email, I write last night's soup run. So for all these years, I'm writing these emails with just recaps of the night before, and I call it last night's soup run. So people would say to me over the years, you should write a book about this. So after 10 years, and really calculating the thousands and thousands of people that we've served, I decided to publish a book and call it what else but Last Night's Soup Run. So it's really a memoir of the experiences that we have and the beautiful people that we meet, volunteers and guests every month. It's stories along with heartfelt comments about the experiences on the soup run, and I'll tell you a little bit about the stories and how the book came together. So this is Father Harry Pappas. He's at the church in Stamford, and this is our priest in New Rochelle, Father Nick Anktel. So 17 years ago, Father Harry was our second priest. And he's the one who introduced us to serving individuals who are homeless. And we called it the soup run because we started off serving a little container of soup. That's all we served. And Father Harry then was leaving us to go to the church in Stamford, and we were devastated and said, well, what will we do now? What will happen to the soup run? And Father Harry said, it's yours to make it what you will, and it's yours to run with. So we regrouped, and we decided to take advantage of one of our parishioners, Manny, who's a fantastic chef and a caterer. And so Manny cooks for us, and he cooks amazing food. Over the years, every month, from one month to the next, I would talk to Manny, what should we serve this month? And we always tried to come up with something different. But they really love Manny's lemon chicken. So lemon chicken, rice, and vegetables. So we just decided, you know what? That is going to be our standard meal. So once a month, Manny makes us lemon chicken. So what's interesting is the presence of our clergy on the soup run really provide a welcome spiritual support that the guests really appreciate. This is an amazing picture. This is Father Augustine Somas. He's at St. Thomas in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. He used to be our second priest a couple of years ago, and so he was showing extraordinary compassion, taking this gentleman's socks and shoes off and giving him new socks and shoes. Amazing. Another evening, we were blessed to have His Eminence Archbishop El Pilaforas join the soup run. These are also amazing pictures. Here he is kneeling down, talking to the woman, and you can't see it now, but, maybe you can see. It really annoyed me. She had a cigarette in her hand, and she kept smoking and blowing smoke into the Archbishop, but he was not bothered. He sat there and talked to her, talked to this other gentleman. So he was amazingly warm and kind. When he arrived, he said to me, what should I do? What should I do? And I said, I was a little taken aback, and I said, well, would you like to give out meals? And he said, absolutely. So we just kept loading him up with containers of food, and he walked around and fed so many people. So it was So here's Father Elias, the Archbishop, and Father Nick. He was really touched. He says he wants to do it again, but he has a tough schedule, so we're trying to figure out when he can come again. So we have calculated that we've served more than 21,000 hot meals, 21,000 meals, just going out once a month. Pretty amazing experience. Here you can see not only are we serving meals, but we provide tons of clothing and other items. We've served the meals, we've served at least 3,000 sandwiches. We continued serving throughout the pandemic. We went into homeless shelters because no one was on the street. We have never not served. We have never not served, no matter what the weather, whether it's 2 degrees out and 2 feet of snow, pandemic throughout, we've always gone out. And what's amazing to me is when, 2 things. I will receive emails or phone calls from other volunteers if it's a really nasty day outside, and they'll say, "We're not going out tonight, are we?" And I say, well, they still need to eat, right? They still need to eat. And then we go out when it's 2 degrees out and 2 feet of snow, and our guests say to us, "Oh my gosh, you came out tonight. It's so bad outside." Like they're feeling badly for us that we came out in the inclement weather. So let me tell you how the book came together. As I said, we go out on the last Thursday of every month. We call it the Soup Run. I send out the email the next morning talking about the different stories that we've heard. And we always hear amazing stories, heartfelt stories, heart-wrenching stories, happy stories, all kinds of stories. So the book is organized by chapters that I think reflect the experiences that we have on the Soup Run. So the chapters are called The Unexpected. So there are lots of unexpected things that happen. Maybe someone keels over in front of us and we have to call 911. Or the next chapter is called One More Person, and that is very often at the end of the evening when we think we've given out all of the food and everything that we have, and one more person shows up and we're scrambling to find what we have, and inevitably we have one more item to serve that individual. Another chapter is called The Stories, the Faces of the Homeless. This is just a lot about their stories. Another one, we were serving a gentleman once, and he said, "I remember that you come on Thursdays. I don't remember much else, but I remember that you come on Thursdays." Taking care of one another. They're very considerate, as I mentioned, and compassionate to one another. Oftentimes they ask us for an extra meal so they could take it to someone in the train or someone wherever they're staying who can't make it to where we're serving. Gratitude. They are very grateful for what we're doing. They express it to us on a regular basis. They have different ways of expressing it, but they are gracious and they have gratitude. I told you the story about they still need to eat. That's my favorite story because, you know, we go home to our homes and we're warm and cozy and we're safe and we're clean. So it doesn't matter if we're cold for a couple of hours when we're standing outside. They still need to eat, and we'll be there for them. There but for the grace of God go I. This is an amazing thing that I feel so many of us reflect on every night, every time we go out on the Soup Run. There but for the grace of God go I. We meet people, as I mentioned, who started off in life with many of the same opportunities and privileges that we had, but something didn't work out for them. So the $100 miracle. So we have a lot of surprising and beautiful experiences on the Soup Run, and we have a lot of fun at it. It's not a depressing or a dreary situation, but I guess it's also what you make of it. So one evening, at the end of the evening, a man approached us, and he asked us if we had a coat. It was winter, he didn't have a coat, he didn't have anything on him. And we had nothing left. We didn't have any coats, sweaters, we literally had nothing in our bins. And so we sadly said we had nothing, and he wandered off. Amazingly, someone was walking down the street and handed one of our volunteers a $100 bill. This is back when we were at next to Madison Square Garden, and there was a Kmart next door. So we immediately called the man back, asked him to wait. We went into Kmart, and we bought him a coat for the $100. Amazing. It turned out his name was Alexei, and he was a Russian Orthodox Christian from Moscow. So this is what I call the $20 miracle. So this is a pretty inspiring story. This gentleman is named Haki, and he's a Turkish immigrant. We had just purchased 15 pizzas from his pizza shop. He owns a chain of 6 pizza stores in the city called Champion Pizza. Haki was a Turkish immigrant, and he arrived in New York with $240 in his pocket. And he had a promise from a friend of his that he could stay with him and get himself situated. Once Haki arrived in New York, his friend ghosted him, and he never showed up, he never found him. So he found himself alone in New York City with a 3rd grade education and nowhere to sleep and nowhere to work. He spent his days walking around the city in the cold, and then he rode the subway all night to keep warm. Another homeless man who was from Senegal took him to the Bowery Mission, and he stayed there for a couple of months. Haki eventually got a job as a dishwasher at a pizzeria in Hoboken. But he couldn't get back and forth to work from the Bowery Mission to Hoboken in time, so he slept on a park bench nearby, near his work. One day, the owner of the pizza shop learned that he was homeless, and he was sleeping on a park bench, and he took him in, and he invited him to come and stay with him and his family. Eventually, Haki opened his own pizza shop. Obviously, a lot happened in the meantime. Haki opened his own pizza shop. Sorry, I just lost my pointer. And he was renting an apartment, and at one point he could no longer afford the rent on his apartment, so he started sleeping at the pizza shop near the pizza oven and kept it on at night so that he could stay warm. So what happened with the $20 miracle? So we bought 15 pizzas from Champion Pizza because once I read about his story, I thought that's where I wanted to buy our pizza from, to support someone who has a lot of compassion for homeless individuals and has done a lot for the community. So we had just finished serving the last of our pizzas when we were all out and we're getting ready to pack up, and another man came by who was hungry and asked us if we had anything to eat. And again, we had nothing left. And so we started talking amongst ourselves, saying, well, is there a pizza shop nearby that we can go to? What do we need? Well, we need $20. So just as we were saying, we need $20 and we're going to go to this pizza shop down the street to buy one more pizza to serve this man, literally a $20 bill floated down the sidewalk and we grabbed it. Honestly, it's the $20 miracle. It just literally floated down the sidewalk. We grabbed it, we went and bought the pizza. So, our volunteers. Our volunteers are amazing. All of you who are here are volunteers. We meet individuals with so little to wear that our volunteers are extremely generous, taking sometimes the shirts off their backs, the shoes off their feet, and giving them to those who are standing shivering in front of us. The book tells the stories that we hear from our guests that we talk with. Some of the stories make us cry, some make us laugh. But we are able to see homelessness in a way that's different than we used to see it. When you experience serving those who are homeless, it's a very different experience than walking past them on the street. We talk with our guests, we hug them, we know many of their names, and we connect with them. We believe in serving with compassion, as I mentioned, with no judgment. We try to make sure that we treat them with dignity. We don't serve out of black garbage bags. We serve out of bins and things that are set on a table. So we're serving with dignity. These are some other great pictures. There's Father Augustine again. So this is what we see. This is in front of St. Francis. This is people like laying on the sidewalk, and we walk up to them. Sometimes we leave them food, or we ask them if there's anything else we can do. As I mentioned, oftentimes we think, there but for the grace of God go I. One of our volunteers during last month's soup run made an amazing comment. She said, I often think of there but for the grace of God go I, and that I'm standing on this side of the table and not that side of the table. I think that this is an important thing that I actually try to keep top of mind, which is from Luke chapter 12, to whom much is given, much will be required. And we have all been given so much, such an abundance. This is my favorite quote from Mother Teresa. If you can't feed 100 people, then feed just one. So oftentimes people think, well, what can I really do? Well, you can feed one person. You can buy an extra meal. We were also talking at dinner that a couple of us, if we go out to eat and we're taking a doggy bag home, we'll pack that up. We'll ask for plastic utensils from the restaurant, and the first homeless individual you see, you give them the food. They never turn it down. So I hope that you have been inspired to feed those who are hungry and those who are experiencing homelessness. We need to know them. We need to know their stories. Thank you for joining the Soup Run and for being such great partners. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Despina. That is very touching and inspiring. And I think we probably have some questions, comments. Let's go to Angela. We need to use the microphone because we're on internet, as you know. So, thank you.
I want to thank you for being here today, and I want to thank you, Peggy, and all of the people that do this. 15 plus years ago, when I was a Goya advisor, we did the Bridges Run to Newark at Penn Station. That day is still so memorable to me, to be able to sit there and feed the homeless, not only feed the homeless, but clothe the homeless. We don't know that a homeless person can wear an overcoat for only about 3 days. Right? We would think he can wear it forever. There's so much that I learned and the children learned that day that, again, is still in my mind to this day. And God bless you guys for doing what you do.
Thank you. One of the other things, that's very true. One of the other things, right now at my church, we're doing a purse drive. And so we're collecting gently used purses, backpacks, tote bags, crossbody bags, and fanny packs. And we're going to be distributing what we collect to a couple of organizations, but we're saving the crossbody bags and the fanny packs and the backpacks for the individuals on the street because they need bags, and the women in particular need bags that they can wear under their clothing where they can keep their personal items close to them where they're safe. They get robbed all the time, they get beat up all the time, they get abused, and so anything that they can keep on their person is important. So if you ever have a purse drive here, think about collecting those kind of items.
Despina, could you elaborate on how you communicate with the homeless before we get there the last Thursday of the month to remind them, because as we all know, some of them, their memory is not always up there.
Right. So thank you. So a couple of ways. Some of them have my cell phone number, and so we'll text and remind them to come on the last Thursday of the month, or if it's a holiday and we're changing the date, we'll let them know. We also are listed with the Midnight Run, which is a great organization that has outreach programs where they make, it's not like the Soup Run because we go to one location and we stay put and serve from there. The Midnight Run makes several stops over the course of an evening. But the Midnight Run has a website, and they will list who is serving on which days and in which locations, and so we're listed there, and that's a big resource for the homeless individuals.
There you go, Ryan.
And Despina, I just want to say thank you for coming tonight. That presentation was very inspiring, and then I know some of our guys from our parish came over to volunteer, and God bless them. You know something? My mom and I actually did something every Thanksgiving Day for several years. We actually fed the homeless. We went to some church in Hackensack, and we just fed the food to all the homeless people out there. And, you know, it's truly a blessing, and, you know, just give food to, you know, less fortunate. It really is a true blessing, you know.
That's beautiful that you did that. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, actually, I would like really to thank you for the great work you're doing. And I personally am in touch with a pastor here in South Hackensack. He's a friend of mine, and he's handling the homeless. And also, I joined to him. And so it's a great work you're doing, and as part of my actually reaching out is actually the homeless, and I'm so pleased tonight, you know, to hear and to watch your great work and the godly work you're doing,
Thank you
and the blessing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Despina, hi. Could I ask you to tell us a little bit about how the food is prepared, who prepares it, when, how do you actually bring it to the
Sure.
homeless, and when you're handing it out to the homeless, I assume you have to put in some kind of container, and how do you get a hold of all those supplies?
Peggy, did you want to answer?
Thank you. You want to say?
Is that a joke? First, we get a lot of donations, and those donations, I go to BJ's with my husband, and I buy everything I need. Then I have a group of people. We get together, we make sandwiches, we collect clothes from the parishioners, we pack them up, put them in the cars, and meet Despina in New York.
And
Do the same thing.
and so for the hot meals,
Hot chocolate.
yeah.
You know.
So for the hot meals that we bring from New Rochelle, we have Manny Loris as our parishioner, chef, caterer. So years ago when we started this, we would also invite people to sponsor a soup run. So this is under the umbrella of Philoptochos. And so you could sponsor a soup run for $150. We've never raised the sponsorship. It probably costs about $350 to $400 to cook the food, but we've always kept the sponsorship at $150. Every month someone sponsors. Oftentimes people want to sponsor in the name of a deceased beloved one or in honor of something or whatever. So Manny cooks in the afternoon. We have volunteers who come and they package everything into plastic containers. We also have plastic utensils individually wrapped. And then we pack up our cars and we drive into the city.
And set up tables and.
Correct. Yes, so we have hygiene products. We put together toiletry kits, and we have a group of wonderful women at Holy Trinity who that's their thing. Every month they get together and they prepare these amazing hygiene kits with tons of items in them, and those go really quickly. People really need them and like them. But yes, so we bring toiletry kits, we bring underwear. So socks are the #1 requested item of homeless individuals, and we've been fortunate to, I established a relationship with Bombas Socks. If you need socks, please support Bombas. Bombas has an amazing mission. Their mission, their business model is for every sock that is purchased, they will donate a pair of socks to a homeless shelter or an organization that serves those who are homeless. So several years ago, I connected with Bombas, and as a matter of fact, just recently we were running out of socks, and I made another request, and they said, would 2,000 pairs of socks be enough? And I said, yeah, that'll hold us for a little while. So now they're in Father Nick's garage, because we don't have any room in the basement of the church, so they're in Father Nick's garage, and every month I ask him to bring another batch. But the second most requested item is underwear. Men's underwear, women's underwear. So having an underwear drive is certainly something that is important. So socks and underwear we give new, and then other items are gently used or gently worn.
You have a question?
No, I just want to add. When Despina first came to our parish and spoke to us about what she was doing. Peggy, who was president at the time, we said, you know what? We needed to do more of that because we weren't doing that here in St. Nicholas. And I spoke to her and I told her, you know what? Why don't we get involved with Espina? And we did, and that's how we got involved. It's gratifying to me that when I do come and I see these people and speak to them and hear their personal stories, that's what really touches me. And every time we give them something, they turn around and say, God bless you.
And thank you.
The thank you doesn't affect me as much as when they say, God bless you. And that, to me,
It's everything.
is everything. And that's why I get satisfaction. No matter how tired I am,
We just do it.
I mean, you know, we don't,
And how cold.
yeah, and we don't get back until like after 10 o'clock, 10:30. Yeah. You know, back to,
They're
Here.
amazingly
So it's-
grateful, and they express
Yeah.
their gratitude that way.
and when
Yes.
you get to see the same people every month, you know, you create a kind of a bond with them because they don't only want the material things, they want the social. They want just somebody to listen to them and listen to you and just to talk to them. That's really
I had-
kindness, you know, being kind.
I had
Really?
the guy, Tony, I think he's Arabic. I'm not sure if you know who Tony is. He's there every month. And last month he said to me, can I just ask you, why are you always so nice to us?
See? See?
They're not used to that, right?
No, they're not.
Last month we
They're
had
not.
a group of about 15 Goyans who came with us. The president of Goya said we should really join the soup run, especially there were a lot of kids who were
There were a
home
lot
for
of
spring
kids
break.
in
So
their
we had
church.
15 Goyans
Yeah.
come. So I'm getting these texts from our priest, Father Dimitri, saying, okay, 3 Goyans are coming, 6, 11. I'm like, okay, I need some parents too. You know, I don't want to be responsible for that many Goyans. And so they came, and they had an amazing experience. But one of the guests that we served made a comment and said, it's so nice to see so many young people out with you tonight. I mean, the things that they notice, they're just people like us. They're just people like us. And the other thing that's important, as I mentioned, we serve with dignity, we serve with compassion, we serve without judgment, and they are our guests. They're not homeless people, we don't put a label on them, they're our guests, and that's our obligation to serve them. Any other questions?
And they won't take anything that they don't need. That's another thing. Because, you know, sometimes I go through the clothes and I say, well, this size might fit this person. So I'll bring it over to them and I'll say, would you like this? No, I really don't like the color. It might not fit me. Give it to somebody else. They just don't take it if they don't need it.
Right,
Yeah.
correct.
Somebody in the back ahead of you, Mike, if you don't mind, and then we'll come back to Mike. Plus, I don't want to sleep in a tool shed tonight, so, presbyter.
See, it pays to have connections. Despina, thank you. So the question I have for you is, how do you address the sometimes inevitable fear people have to go out there into a bad area of New York City, and how do you address that fear factor?
So that's a good question. How do we address the fear factor? I think, first of all, if someone is uncomfortable going out to the streets, they can participate in this outreach in other ways. They can be at the church cooking, they can be helping with the drive, they can be helping with toiletry kits. So this isn't for everyone. In fact, it's not for a lot of people because we're very close, we're very interactive, it's, you know, you're right there. So first and foremost, I think people have to do what they feel comfortable with. If they are comfortable going out on the street, I think it helps that there are a lot of us. It's not just one of us who's out there, there's a group of us. Number one. Number two, we serve from tables for a couple of reasons, not just the dignity perspective, but we also stand behind the tables so that there's a little bit of a barrier. Now, that's not to say that we're not walking around, and as I said, we hug some of them, but it does create a barrier, and we are very diligent about asking people to not come behind us. That, from a safety perspective, we don't want people behind us. We've had, and NYPD present, and Paul reminded me to make sure that they're there in April. We have a lieutenant in NYPD who's a parishioner, and so I always send him a little note and say, can you have a couple of people out? So the mere police presence, I think, is enough. We have, knock on wood and thank God and everything else, we have literally never had any problems. We have never had any safety issues. Do people get a little dicey, a little challenging sometimes? Of course. I mean, we're dealing with a challenging population. But they, I find it so interesting how much they respect us and how much they really appreciate what we're doing, that I never feel unsafe. I really don't. I don't know, Peggy, and you feel safe? Yeah, and they treat us well. I mean, they're not being belligerent to us. Sometimes, again, you get people who are having a particularly bad day, and they may say some not so nice things, but you can get that just walking down the street from a regular person. Yes, that has happened too. Yeah. 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 Yes, yes. And then we also have individuals who help us set up. How many times we show up, whether it's Santos or the other guy, who will help us set up the tables, or they'll say to the other people who are standing in line, like, wait, just let them set up first, and they try to, keep a little order. So I just think that they're respectful, they're grateful for what we're doing, and as a matter of fact, I remember once years ago when we were back by Madison Square Garden, someone was, I was sort of kneeling on the ground. We had a bunch of shoes, and they were all laid out on the sidewalk, and then there was a big crowd around me, and people were trying to get the shoes, and one of our volunteers came up to me and said, "Are you okay?" Because I was kind of in the middle on the sidewalk on the ground with all of these people around me, and I said, "Yes, I'm okay." And one of the homeless individuals said, "We would never let anything happen to you." Yeah.
Vespina, I was, when I did come with you a couple times, I was so surprised about the migrants that had really very little clothes on. It was in the dead of winter, and they were wearing shorts, some with no shoes. It was heartbreaking. Tell us about the last couple of years, what a difference the migrant situation has brought to you and the amount of need there.
Yes, so thank you for that question. I remember one night there was a family of 2 adults and 3 children, and they were all wearing flip-flops. That's what they had. They didn't have socks, they didn't have shoes. So we managed to find something for all of them. Mothers with holding babies just saying, "Do you have anything warm?" So the migrant influx did dramatically increase the number of meals that we were serving. They were staying in a hotel right down the street from St. Francis when we were there. And most of them, as I said, are from Ecuador, Venezuela, Senegal. And what was there were a lot of interesting experiences with the migrants. First of all, the street homeless, there was a little bit of tension between the street homeless and the migrants. And especially when we had large crowds of migrants, some of the street homeless would say to us, "Why are you taking care of them? We're American citizens. Why are you serving them?" And I would say to them, "Look, they need to eat just like everybody else needs to eat. We have enough food to go around," and thankfully we always did. There was some tension, so another month we decided to give out meal tickets. And so what we did was we would pass out meal tickets to the street homeless, and we would explain to the migrants that we were going to feed the street homeless first. And so everyone who produced a ticket got fed first. Interestingly, the migrants do receive 3 meals a day. So it's not like they're looking for food like the street homeless are. Now, that's not to say that, the food they get isn't that great or it's not plentiful enough or whatever. So they're more than happy to have our food as well. But there were some tensions between the street homeless and the migrants, and we all felt it, we all sensed it. Nothing ever escalated to an out-of-control point, but we did see it. I don't know if you experienced it, yeah. Yeah, it was close. Yeah, there were some tense moments, but interestingly, we've been talking about it the last couple of months, the migrant population seems to have dissipated. You know, we have a handful of migrants now, very much stragglers, so not sure. Right, 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 right. Sure.
Are there any sort of persistent challenges that you're facing as a group for which you're currently seeking solutions? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Are there currently any persistent challenges as a group that you're currently seeking solutions? For example, with the greater demand, perhaps you're looking to increase capacity, but are there any sort of challenges that you're facing?
So are there other challenges that we're facing? I don't think that we're facing challenges from a capacity perspective because we are able to feed enough people.
No shortage of funding and so on?
No
Okay.
shortage of funding. Like I said, you know, we do this sponsorship. It's only $150, which doesn't cover it, but our Philoptohos is able to cover it. Mm-hmm. You know, we always need items, though. We need seasonal items. In the winter, we need blankets. I mean, the blankets go like that. We had someone who was at our parish who's an estate lawyer, and every time someone passed away and they were cleaning out their apartment, they got all these old Afghans and would bring them, and we would give those out. So I would say seasonal items we always need. Blankets, baseball caps are really popular in the
Perhaps a
summertime.
mechanism by which the word might be spread quickly in real time across parishes, that kind of thing, either online or
Yeah, I mean,
through some other way.
Certainly spreading the word would be great. In my email, I will indicate what we may need for the next month.
Is there a mailing list maybe that people could join?
There is a mailing list. I'd be
Okay.
happy to. There's an
And-
email list.
Got it.
Yes.
Advertising that maybe, okay. Sorry. My other question is, so it seems essentially it's through one parish, effectively, that
Well,
this
in your
that
parish.
being driven, okay. But you've essentially developed a model for doing this. My thoughts are, could this in some way be formalized and duplicated across parishes, either through the archdiocese, because through one or two parishes managing to do this once a month, across hundreds of parishes, there could be a soup run each day of the
Right.
month. I'm just curious.
So I'm glad you asked that question. So several years ago, before the pandemic, the Archdiocesan District Philoptohos, of which I'm on the board, we started a Feed the Hungry program. And so we started going out on the last Tuesday of every month to the same location. And we would invite parishes in the Archdiocesan District to sign up for a month. And so that was going along fine. Then the pandemic hit. They stopped going. We didn't stop going. Everybody else stopped going. So it was about 2 years ago that I was speaking with one of our guests, and they said, you know, whatever happened to those other Greek people that used to come out on Tuesday nights? Well, that was the other parishes. So I went back to the district and I said, we need to start the Feed the Hungry program again. So now we have a schedule of the last Tuesday of every month, different parishes from New York will go out. We have every month covered except Christmas Eve, but anyhow, we'll get there. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And And the other thing, this is just a shameless plug for my book. I did bring copies of my book. It's only $15, and any books that I sell, the profits will be given to Peggy and the team for their use. So if anybody's interested, you can see me afterwards. And at the end of the book, I have an appendix, and it says, this is what you do if you want to start this kind of a homeless outreach. So it gives like some little tips on what to do.
So I have a question. You've never been invited then to a clergy lady assembly or a clergy lady congress to talk about this, or not?
I did speak at the National Philoptohos in Boston, but not clergy lady, no. At where?
You came to Garfield, to the Venetian?
Oh, yes, I did speak there, but I thought you meant like at a national level. But
Yeah, well, I mean, to Eva Horas's comment, I mean, that's where you should be speaking at some point because of the, I mean, there's obviously urban areas that could use this kind of a philanthropy and ministry, you know,
Absolutely.
no doubt. And I mean, 17 years you've been doing it. You know, you're the benchmark now. Anybody else? Question, comment? Thank you very much.
Thank you
May I-
so much.
Once again.
Thank you very much.
Let's take a picture of this.
Because you have a heart of gold, and thank you for coming.
Let's come in the middle here. That's great. Okay. Next week, we go back to Byzantine music. Manolis Anastasiou, our chanter, will be presenting on what we hear on Sundays, and he's going to explain some of the hymns that we hear during Lent. So it's called Music, Music, Music. We thank our Philoptohos ladies tonight for sponsoring, and have a blessed evening. Drive safe, everybody. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Great job as usual. Thank you.
Do you need help? Yeah.
I just want to give you a quick hug. Blessed pasta.
To have you. Really, I joined actually. I'm also from some mission. Yes, and I do with my the pastor from South Sudan. I'm brand new at the church here. Oh, I'm from